It disturbs me to think the Titan's Return is considered vintage in some circles now, but here we are looking at Titan's Return, Megatron, and Doomshot, of all things. So, my reasoning behind this is basically, I did a video on Titan's Return Blitzwing on the channel several years back at this point, and so I'm familiar with the mold. I don't have that figure anymore, and I know there are people that aren't fond of this one because he's so plain gray and stuff like that, but basically I have a Megatron shelf, I don't have a Blitzwing shelf. I do think this is a good mold, and I could just get some repro labels and that'll fix it right up. So yeah, that's why we're looking at this guy. We're looking at him in jet mode first because it's just easier to go from jet to tank to robot, because the way you do some of the transformation, like you have to do a couple of things back and forth if you're going from tank to jet and then back to robot. So that's why we're doing jet first. I got this secondhand off eBay from eBay seller that I actually get a lot of used Transformers from. Great seller. And yeah, this is secondhand, so the stickers are in slightly worse shape than they might be when you get it brand new. Possibly. It's Titan's Return / like edging into the Power of Prime's stuff, and those stickers are garbage. So who knows if this is because age or because the stickers are bad, but there we go. Here is Megatron's jet mode, and there's something funny to me about how Megatron as a triple changer typically seems to have light and treaded modes, like basically jet and tank or spaceship and tank. For like all the triple changing Megatrons seem to have those two alt modes. Triple changing specifically, RID 2001 Megatron does not have a jet or a tank because, yeah, but point is, jet and tank. So here we've got the jet, and honestly, this doesn't look bad. It's more cohesive than the Legacy Blitzwing tank, or jet. You do get the visible fists on the side here, but it doesn't really bother me. But I think this actually looks good. And like, yeah, the stickers are kind of but the red does really help to add some extra detail to those wings. You get a little bit of red and black going along here, the little stickers that are off center and suck, which I'll be replacing at some point anyway. The color breakup is not the best, but it's not terrible. And I do like the little pop of orange you get for the cockpit section. The gun stores on the top. There's just these two little tabs here, and then this little peg tab here sit in these little notches here, and then in this little groove towards the back. So you just kind of line it up, peg it on there, and it sits in there, and I just unpeg the bottom there. And that's how you attach that, but you don't have to have it on there, and even without it, looks pretty decent. I think color-wise, the only thing other than what I would like a little bit more paint detailing here and there, like maybe up here close to what are basically the intakes, and maybe like the boosters. If like the boosters were actually in black or like a darker gray or something, that'd be nice, but it's fine. I don't mind it, and it's nowhere near as monochromatic as I kind of expected going into this. I will admit though, Blitzwing's colors are a little bit more vibrant and interesting, but I think this is totally fine. Now I do have Doomshot inside the cockpit, and it just does the weird little opening mouth thing, but there we've got that. And it just sits on the tank turret, but it bounces pretty well. And yeah, there we've got Doomshot, and Doomshot is extremely disappointing as a Titan Master, which is saying a lot for Titan Masters, but yeah, this guy, there's no paint at all, which kind of sucks. At least you do get some separation with the gray and the red, but yeah, there's no paint at all, and then the only real paint you get is, of course, the robot mode face, and there's like this little bit of, is that like a scratch or something? I'll have to go after that in the with like a magnifier or something. That is certainly something that's in there. But yeah, there's not really much in the way of paint on the Megatron face. It's just red eyes. And that's something that hopefully Reaper Labels will fix. But yeah, this is kind of bland. Sculpting's nice, as they always are for the Titan Masters, but it is kind of bland. And also, getting this guy made me realize what was wrong with... what was his name? I forget the name of the Titan Master that came with... Suddenly I'm forgetting the name of the one I just looked at. The pinchy guy, the Headmaster Junior that came in the 4-pack. I'll probably pop up a name here somewhere, but yeah, the Titan Master or Squeeze Play, that was it. Titan Master for Squeeze Play, I mentioned he had that problem with the legs popping off. That's because there was no pin. There was no pin for the hips. And it's not that the Titan Master for Squeeze Play was missing the pin, it's that for some reason it was designed without using a pin. So the legs just popped off, and that's kind of weird. But that's one thing Doomshot has going for him. And yeah, like I said, it's a nice sculpt, but just really bare bones. Like, they could have at least painted the little visor in there, you know? But oh well. And because this is a Titan's Return figure, you've got the little Titan Master pegs in a few places, so you can have the little Titan Masters sitting or standing, I guess, on different spots, because why not? And you know what, we'll just leave them like this for now. This is going to stay off to the side for now, though. So there we've got Titan's Return Megatron in jet mode. And now let's do those size comparisons. So here we've got Dinobot for Tall Voyager, Ova Prime for Tall Deluxe, Samus because non-Transformers-y thing that people might be able to draw comparisons with. And there's that. If I remember correctly, this is a Voyager class figure from, Titan's Return Voyager, so, slightly different sizing, but there is Megatron with Burnout for a more current deluxe. And yeah, Megatron is definitely bigger. Also, the wings definitely add some to it. And then, because here is Studio Series Bumblebee movie concept Megatron in his flight mode. And it's kind of funny, you got Voyager and Leader. The Leader is bigger and heavier than the Voyager, but not by a ton. At least not in this mode. But, times have changed. Also, the engineering is very different. And finally, of course, got to do our most important size comparison. Here he is with the duck tank. Now, before we turn all of this into a tank, if you like this video or any of the videos that I've done, I do have a Ko-fi and a Patreon. Links to both at the end of the video as well as down in the description. If you're going to do the Patreon thing, which would be much appreciated, please do not do it through the iOS app. It's complicated. But otherwise, there's also the typical YouTube stuff of like, comment, share, subscribe. Now, to transform this into a tank, I'm going to just put Doomshot off. Well, Doomshot can just hang out back there. Hopefully I won't knock him over. Oh, hang out further back. So hopefully I won't knock him over while I'm doing this. So to start, just going to fold up the tail fins and get the wings kind of up and out of the way and fold the wing tips down. I feel like this is silly to show, but it's whatever. Because everyone's had this mold before. Anyway, disconnect the tank turret from down here. Open up the plane cockpit, flip the nose cone in, close back up, and then swing the entire cockpit section down, and it'll go through this gap in the strut that the tank turret is attached to, or you can just have it back like that, but flip that around and have it like so. And now this can just kind of sit up like that, just to get it out of the way. And I need to adjust this. Okay. Now, going to untab these flaps, and then untab them from the side here temporarily. Then this entire gray piece here unplugs from the side and actually swings down and around. And you want to swing down this way, but this swings down and around, and it will plug in right here. And same deal on this side. Get the flaps out of the way, untap this, swing it around. You want to make sure that the wings don't get caught up on the tank turret. Swing it around and plug it in there. Now, these tail fins will swing forward, and these pieces will swing back in, and they basically plug in much the same way they were plugged in for the jet mode. There's this little slot here that tabs over this. I just find it's easier to untab them when you swing it around because things are going to come untabbed anyway. Put these tab into the sides, kind of. Then with that done, this, it's because it's used, it's a little bit creaky in places. So this swings in, and this peg goes into the robot mode fist. And it's a little tricky to get the wings lined up right, but basically this swings in, and the wings will settle into this little notch here, or tail fins rather. They just kind of plug in like that. And then same deal on this side. This swings in, and just to show it from this angle, it kind of plugs in to the robot mode fist, and this comes in, and just make sure that that lines up, and then squeeze it down. And to clean it up, I'm going to take the wings, fold them in, and fold them in again. And basically what happens is this little notch on the wing goes over this little half peg here, and this diagonal section kind of goes in here. And it actually does sit pretty decently once you get it in there. Like, it's not pegged in, but it's frictioned enough that it's not just going to flop out, which is actually pretty cool. And again, same thing on this side. Just bring that in. That squishes in. And then finally, rotate the tank turret 180 degrees and bring it down. And there we have the tank mode. Oh, Doomshot fell over. I didn't bump him. I think I just slid the backdrop base around. But anyway, there is Megatron's tank mode. That's not a bad tank mode. It's definitely a little bit on the short nose side, but it's not a bad tank. And we can, of course, enhance it by taking the cannon here and splitting it apart. There's a tab in there that pegs in here. So you just basically just line it up like this and peg it in, and it sits together pretty well. But this will come out. And this will now tab in here. And you want to, the way you want to line it up is you want to have this kind of peg section sitting into this little nook here. And it's easier to do when it's not down all the way. But yeah, just push that in and it'll friction in place. And that gives you a much better tank turret, which unfortunately, because this thing's a little bit used, you can see it kind of wants to flop down a bit. It's fine, but yeah, that's a thing. This piece, if you want, you can store on the back. That's kind of what I've been doing, just to get it out of the way, but you can plug it in there. You can plug it in like that if you want. You can plug it in on the side or facing that way. There's also a peg hole up here, and these little tabs kind of go into these little square holes on top of the cannon, so you can make a double-decker cannon, which is kind of silly, but I also am kind of into it. And because it's a Titan's Return figure, you can lift up the little cockpit, canopy, whatever, and get little Doomshot into a sitting position, and he just goes in there. And there is actually, if we can get this up, there's a little groove in there that this little bit of the backs of the Titan Master's legs can peg into, and that really solidly locks Doomshot in there, so he's not going to fall out. And we'll just close that back up. Get that back on there. There we go. There is Megatron's tank mode, and it definitely looks ridiculous, but I also think it looks kind of nice. The fact that it's all gray, but like different tones of gray, like slightly darker, slightly lighter, with a little bit of red here and there. But like the fact that it's mostly gray, I think actually works in its favor. It makes the tank mode a bit more cohesive, at least color-wise, than, say, Blitzwing's tank mode. And I didn't mention this in the jet mode, but I'm going to mention it now in the tank mode. There's a lot of really nice, intricate sculpting all over this thing. Like all of these sculpted details all around here, even on like what used to be the wings and the obvious jet section that's barely hidden there. Like there is a lot of really nice molding. And like the inside of the, like, look at all the little details in there. This is something I feel like is kind of missing from current stuff. Like even in here, that's so much tech detailing. It is kind of missing from current stuff, but at the same time, current stuff is going for a different aesthetic. So I'm not bothered by it. It's just a thing of note. But it's funny because I remember at one point kind of getting tired of all the greebling and the overwrought detailing on some of the Titans Return, Prime Wars, and Siege figures, and now I'm kind of missing it. Which just goes to show you, people don't know what they want. But yeah, this is the tank mode. The tank mode kind of rolls, and it looks tankish. It's got treads, got a cannon barrel, and it looks fine for what it is. There's something about this two-tone gray they used for the turret. Like I like this darker gray they put in the sides. It's just, I don't know, something about that appeals to me. That multi-tone gray. But yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about the tank mode. So let's move on to size comparisons and on to the eventual end of this video. There's Dinobot, there is Ova Prime, and there is Samus. You can see how they all stack up. And I mistakenly transformed Burnout into her robot mode because I completely forgot we were doing a tank mode. Fortunately, the Rob in this video, and by extension everyone watching this video, is experiencing the time that I'm filming this non-linearly, so I can just be like, boom, there's Burnout. So there we've got Tank Megatron and Hatchback Burnout. And again, Voyager versus Deluxe. And this is just kind of a block with a gun on top, but I can respect it. That's kind of what tanks are anyway. And then also, since we looked at the flight mode before, here is Titans Return Megatron in tank mode with Studio Series Bumblebee movie Megatron, concept Megatron in tank mode. And again, the sizes, like, this guy is a little bit bigger, and he's definitely a little bit denser, a little bit heavier, but not by a whole lot. Which, I don't know, it's just interesting, because I have not had this mold for a while. The only Titans Return figures I've had at all for a while have been deluxes, so I kind of forgot just how big and beefy Titans Return Voyagers were. But yeah, there is Megatron in tank mode, and finally, there is the Doom tank with the Duck tank. And now we turn this into a humanoid robot. So, going to unplug the cannon and all that stuff. Going to take this apart. And now this will combine back like it did for the jet mode and just go off to the side. Doomshot comes out of the cockpit and folds up into a little Titan Master ball to become Megatron's head. I really just need to take some tweezers to get that. Hang on. Sorry, it's just really bugging me. So, I'm going to zoom in so I can see what I'm doing a little bit better here. And very carefully pull that out. Yeah. I don't even know if that was plastic or what, but that seems to have gotten it. Okay. I'm going to put the cap back on these things because these are very sharp tweezers. I've actually drawn blood by accidentally poking myself with them before. Anyway. Here we go. Doomshot is now Megatron's head. And close this up. Pop this out. Rotate it 180 degrees and swing it up. And this tab here will sit in this tab here. Lock that in place. The wings not tab, but they unseat from here and just fold them back. I mean, this is based on the Blitzwing mold, so if you wanted to, you could have them like this, but since this is Megatron and not Blitzwing, I just have them back like this. Now, I'm going to unplug the fists from these posts here, and that's pretty snug, so it's gonna wiggle, 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 and I'm also trying to support this with a finger to make sure things don't rip. I don't want to rip this off the figure, so there is one arm out, and this swings up, and this kind of pseudo pegs in here, just like that. And same deal here, just getting this flap out of the way so I can get my finger there, and wiggle, 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 pop that out, and bring this up, and sort of peg it in there. Let's finish the arm since we're here. So this tread flips back, this section of tread rotates 90 degrees, and then this flap folds all the way back, and this little peg hole will go over this tab here, and that gives you one arm. Same deal here, flip that back, rotate it, and flip that back. And now, I did do some tightening on this guy when I first got it, because I got it used. So like these arms were so floppy, but I tightened them up, and now, as you can see, it actually unpegged rather than flopped down. So yeah, that's better. Though I do think I need to tighten these flaps up a little bit, just to keep them from flopping around unintentionally. But anyway, do that. Take this section here, and it's on a double hinge, so just hinge that up and into place. That forms the chest and also gives Megatron his Megatron belly. And now these can rotate up and split the obvious legs. And then, so this is the thing about this figure. And I think this is more mine, like the one I have, than anything else. But like, essentially, there are these little tabs here that actually go on both legs that go into this slot right down here. And at the same time, there are these tabs on the inside of the leg assembly that peg into the thigh. Like you can get this out of the way. You can kind of see there's a little tab slot and a little tab, and that pegs in there, and it is very fiddly, but does peg in. And essentially that pegs in there. So I find what ends up working best for me is to get these legs pegged together first, then squish them down so that those tabs go into the hips, and that also helps to guide those tabs into the pelvis section. And that keeps everything locked nice and tight, and also it's kind of necessary because otherwise things don't line up right, especially for the tank mode. But it's a little fiddly, and I'm sure the reason it's fiddly for me has more to do with this being a used toy that's, old than the figure itself, because I don't remember having this issue with Blitzwing. But anyway, I'm going to shift everything forward a bit so that it untabs from the pelvis and untabs from the hips, and then split the legs. And now open up this door all the way so we can flip the foot out, because the foot will not flip in and out if the door is only open like partway. But it can be partway for the rest of this, because for the rest of this you want to accordion the leg out, and it will swing up, and there is a little peg hole in this little, you just kind of see it right there in this little strut that pegs over that peg that went into the hip. So that comes up, this closes back up, and that is one leg. And this one, same deal. Fold this out all the way so you can get the foot, then Bring it back in. I just bring it back in because it gives more clearance around here. And then shift all this up, peg it in, bring that in. And that is it for Megatron's body. Transtector? I don't know. That is Titan's Return Megatron's robot mode almost. Because of course this is Titan's Return Megatron. So after doing all that, all we have left to do is take the head and it plugs in to the little Titan Master port right on top there. It pegs in, pegs it, pegs in. Why are you being weird? There we go. Pegs in, and it holds. And there we go. There we have Titan's Return Megatron in his robot mode. And I honestly think this looks pretty good. I mean, I don't know if my, I don't know if this is just because it's been so many years. Oh, also this plug into the arm. I don't know if it's just because it's been so many years since Titan's Return came out, and like compared to what we're used to now, the amount of engineering and color separation with like the different plastics and the paint and stuff like that has, you know, lessened over the years because of budgetary stuff and whatnot, or if it's just that my expectations as someone who collects these kinds of things have changed since then. But like, this is actually pretty cool. I remember thinking there's no way I'm touching Titan's Return Megatron when he first came out. It's like, I'm getting Blitzwing because Blitzwing looks better and has more colors and everything. But like now, this is pretty sweet. Honestly, I do like this a lot. I'm still definitely getting Reaper labels for it. But like, this is cool, and I like that this is both identifiable as Megatron and also distinct. Like, he looks like Megatron, he hits the right notes. Yes, he is Blitzwing with a Megatron head and some different molding, but like, I do think he looks good, and like the color placement really goes a long way. Like the fact that he's mostly gray, but you've got like the red in the arms, and it just, I don't know, it all works. It's different, but it works in a way that I really like. And the proportions are weird, but again, it works. And Megatron's always had really weird designs and modes over the years, so I feel like this actually fits. The one thing really that bums me out about this is the fusion cannon. Because this isn't bad. It has the right shape and everything like that. And of course, the Titan Master saddle in the back there. But what bugs me about it is, one, I wish this was painted like this so that it was just one, black all the way around. But more than that, what I really wish is that there was a way to attach the cannon to the forearm this way. Because I just think it would look better if it could attach this way. You can peg it in down here, but that's wrong. But you can do it. But I just like if these tabs were actually a peg, or if there was a way for these tabs to do something, like if they had set something up on the tread so it could like clip around or something like that, I think that would have been nice. But instead you have to peg it in, and so it's kind of like it's weird. It's like having the fusion cannon attached to his arm at like a 90-degree angle, and it just doesn't quite look right. And I mean, it doesn't ruin it for me because the figure's already different, so it's fine. But like, this is kind of up, like, it's not as bad as Titan's Return Galvatron, where it plugged into his bicep at a weird angle. But like, I do sincerely wish that this could just plug in like that, or even like this. I feel like would be an improvement, or maybe more like this. But you know what I mean. Just having it peg in like this is kind of meh. But outside of all that, as I said, this is a nice looking Megatron, relatively clean. And also, as I said, because it's Blitzwing, or based on Blitzwing, you can fold the wings out if you want, but I vastly prefer to leave them tucked in. It does kind of make me wish that these could tuck in more. And I mean, I guess they technically can, but then the arms can't go down all the way. But like, if this could just fold in more, or fold back more, Also, if this wasn't so wiggly, but this is... I attribute this mostly to this being used. But yeah, it's for what it is, this is still very cool. And I like him a lot, actually. This was a pseudo semi, like, it's not an impulse purchase, it was more like I've been really seriously considering getting my hands on Titan's Return Megatron for a while. And YouTube seller that I go through for used Transformers a lot had one on there for like, I think it's like $30, and it's just like, yes, original MSRP comes with all the stuff that I want. I will get it. I will get the Reaper label set, and I will be happy, and I am happy. Now for the head, I'll just keep it attached. For the head, it's a surprise. It's Megatron. It's a Megatron head. The sculpt is fine. The detailing is good. It's just the problem is it's done in this gray plastic that's very meh. And even like that's not to say the plastic is super bad, but like specifically the face. Something about this gray for the helmet and the face. And not even like the rest of Doomshot, it's fine. Like look at how defined the detail is on like the arms and like the backs of the legs and stuff. But something about this faceplate for Megatron, the detail's just a little bit mushy, especially around the face. It's fine, it gets the job done, it still reads as Megatron, but that detailing just gets lost because of the color of that gray. It's very, very fuzzy looking. Anyway, for the articulation, the head it's technically on a ball joint, but because of how it's plugged in, you're only going to get rotation, but you get the rotation. And you can kind of move the legs out of the way if you want. But yeah, you can rotate left and right, can do full 360. The arms go out quite a bit because of the transformation. You do also get rotation. It doesn't go a full 360, but it goes back that far and up that far. So you're missing all the way up and like, I guess back at it more of an angle, but like it doesn't, like I think this is plenty far forward and this is plenty far back. So I think that's fine. You get a bicep swivel, a 90-degree bend at the elbow, no wrist rotation, no waist rotation. I feel like there is space for it, kind of, but not really because of how the nose cone section sits, so it's fine. The hips can go, we'll do this one. The hips can go forward past 90 and go back past 90, though the wings might get in the way based on the angles, and go out to 90. We get a thigh rotation, which is oddly stiffer on this than some of the other motion. I think I got to tighten some more things up on this guy, but those shoulders were the worst part of it. The knees bend to 90. They do not go past 90 because there's just it's just the way that this is shaped. You plug back in. This strut will not let the knee bend further. You can unpeg it and bend it a little further, which gets you a bit more, but then it kind of opens things up down here. So I guess it is what it is. Do it if you want. Also, the knees can bend forward if you want to do that, which can be useful for like the heroic. It's Megatron, so I don't know if that really works, but like the heroic leaning forward type stances. No ankle tilt, but the toes can tilt down if you want. So yeah, it's Titan's Return. The articulation for Titan's Return was not... it was Titan's Return. It wasn't, they didn't have the same articulation standards at that time that they do now. And honestly, I don't mind this level of articulation. I feel like if we got better toys, better figures, at the cost of like wrist swivels and ankle tilts, the occasional waist joints, I'd be fine with that. Like ankle tilts I do like ankle tilts, but like I don't think they're as essential as say thigh swivels and knees and bicep swivels and elbows and shoulders. So it's fine. Yeah, this guy is pretty cool. And I almost forgot to do this, but I'm going to remember to do it now. Bring out the Siege Blast effect, and this particular one can wedge in there, but it's not actually designed to do that because that peg hole isn't really a peg hole. It's just a big old hole in the cannon, so it's actually gripping around this part of the blast effect, not this part. But this kind of blast effect can fit in the fusion cannon, so you can do it. I would advise against keeping in there as a display because, once again, blast effect parts do have a tendency to wear down paint over time, but, for photos or whatever. So that works. This barrel here, that tip is way too thick for a blast effect to go in there. That's not going to work at all. Same deal with this thing. It's just, that's not going to work. You can peg it in up here if you want, but yeah, you're not gonna get a blast effect on this or the light gray piece because it just won't fit. Anyway, I was done talking about Megatron for that stuff, so let's talk size. So as a reminder, this guy is a Titan's Return Voyager, so he's a little bit bigger than modern Voyagers. It's like Dinobot here. Oh goodness. Wow, that really puts it in perspective, doesn't it? It's like that story about the frog in a pot of water that slowly gets hotter, except not as grim. And also, I think that story was actually not true. Like, frogs would actually leave if it got too hot. But anyway, point being, Dinobot is a tall Voyager, and that's Megatron. So, yeah, I mean, I got the size gripes before, and it's not that I don't agree that it sucks sometimes that figures have gotten smaller, but oh boy, does that throw it into perspective when you see two Voyagers next to each other, and like that's how significant the difference is. And I think the reason why this is affecting me more than some other Voyager to Voyager comparisons is because I was collecting when this came out versus the older Voyagers that came out when I wasn't collecting. So like I have that memory of like, this is how it was, and now it's different. But anyway, here he is with, oh wow, here he is with Leader Class Bumblebee Movie Studio Series Bumblebee Movie Megatron, and Bumblebee Megatron Studio Series Megatron is bigger, but not by much. Like he's, I want to say maybe a third of a head, maybe half of a head taller. The shoulder line is actually almost identical between the two of them. So, yeah. That's interesting. Anyway, as far as it goes with like toys, I like seeing stuff like this. I like having this awkward but fun Megatron versus this highly detailed, highly articulated, and somewhat iffy alt modes Megatron. Incidentally, I almost sold this guy a couple of times and then ultimately decided to keep him, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did because I actually came around on him. Even the flight mode, as silly as it is, for whatever reason, I seem to have gotten better at getting it to hold together, and that makes it a lot more enjoyable. But we're not done. I almost forgot. But here he is with the duck tank. And that does it for me rambling about Titan's Return Megatron for, oh wow, almost an hour. Thought this one was going to be like a half hour, but I guess he did have two alt modes. But yeah, as I said many times, I actually like this guy a lot. Yes, he's somewhat simple in the deco, but like, I guess because of time and because of what I've gotten used to these days, this level of detailing and color separation and stuff, I think is fine. He doesn't seem as dull and boring and basic gray as he used to when he first came out, and that's very strange to me. I'm just having a weird time processing that, but but yeah, this is cool. Megatron wears the Blitzwing mold incredibly well, and Yes, it's different, but it's Megatron. Megatron's always different. And also at this point, we've got so many other G1 referential Megatrons that pull off the G1 look better, but turn into, say, a tank. That, like just a tank. That, you know, I welcome a different looking Megatron that's like slightly G1-y, but also kind of still doing its own thing. This is the kind of thing that I wish we would get more of now, because so many of us have said this. I've said this so many times, but like I'm kind of getting sick of the let's do G1 over and over again nonsense. So yeah, I guess I was just really hungry for something that was different. And that's what I would consider this. Not as out there as RID Megatron, but still, I appreciate it for what it is, and I think I appreciate it much more for what it is now in 2024 than I would have when it originally came out. But that's enough about what I think. What do you all think of this guy, or this mold, or just Titans Return in general, how the size classes have changed? As long as you keep it civil. I know people can... I go on rants too, but like I know the size stuff, people can get really about that. But whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you everybody for watching, and hooray, I got a video done that keeps things going for a little bit longer, so I'll probably have more stuff to do videos on between, well, obviously between this video and the next one that goes up, but like, yeah, these are, a lot of the stuff that's coming in is stuff that's going to be new to me, so I'm excited about that.